Exploration Podcast production.
There's like 80 things that I'm currently focused on. Which like is probably a problem in and of itself. But I think like at the base level, it's like I'm making choices and I'm committing to things for myself and for other people. Mm-hmm. And like even as simple as like I'll try to make it, it's like, well, just fucking commit. Just like fucking just choose one or the other. Mm-hmm. And I know that that's a different like context for trying, but like just fuck it, just choose.
Yeah, that's it. Life's a choice. We're the sum of our choices.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters.
Said we vibing under the city lights, wherever the wind gon' take us. If it's good, we make it contagious. Said we vibing, laying on black sand beaches, thinking of what life teaches. So glad ain't fall from the deep end. Said we vibing, even when the days feel low. Faye's gonna have that glow. Already moving where they ain't think I go. Never show your hand or fold. Keep that poker face shining.
Hey everybody, my name's Ben Smith on the Live Through Love podcast with Ruben. Today we talked about transition, choosing love, and finding your true passions and following what feels right.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Live Through Love. I'm your host, Ruben Rojas, and thank you for tuning in. Ben Smith, thank you for joining us today and to open up. This is about being vulnerable. This is like right now, we're two men, right? We've reinvented ourselves over and over again. And there is a responsibility in realizing that our voices matter. And it doesn't matter who you are. Right. It doesn't matter if you have a following. It doesn't matter what you do. But human beings connect as human beings. And when we realize that we have our own self-worth, and if it's just us two and nobody else, we made a difference in each other's lives.
Something I'm slowly realizing is it's only one. You only have to affect one. Mm-hmm. And I've got a lot of people in my life currently who have been like incredibly supportive in me, like doing the things that feel right. Mm-hmm. And so like, very early on, I'm like, oh, like no one's going to care. Like no one cares what I do. Like I don't feel the support, but I've like strategically placed the support in my life where they're like, no, you should like do the things that you need to do. And it'll help somebody. Mm-hmm. And so, it's all very silly. Like I am having a moment right now where I'm sitting here and I'm like, why the hell am I the dude? Why do you care what I'm saying? But it's really nice to see you like as a friend. It's great. Like we haven't seen each other in a while. Mm-hmm. It's really nice to be here. Mm-hmm. My name's Ben.
The first time we met and actually had an interaction was a testing day, and we were sharing a squat rack.
I remember that.
And we were there. I hit 405, and then you're like, "No, I'm going to go for."
And I did not.
No, you hit more than that.
No, I didn't.
Maybe the next time you came in and crushed it. Is that what it was?
So it was a testing day for Strength 101. Yeah. Strength 202. It was like my fourth week at the gym, and you crushed 405, and I put 395 on the bar and like got stapled to the floor. I remember it very vividly. And then we tested again later, and I think I like pulled like something in the high fives, but like
it was ridiculous.
I've never squatted I look like I can squat, but I can't. But yeah, I was very taken aback by your fitness, like because we didn't really like know each other at all, but you were just like the tan fit guy, and I was like, oh shit, I should probably like be like him. And then I saw Tim, and I was like, oh god, he is a god. Yeah. But yeah, I only trained for a little bit. I only trained powerlifting for a little bit. I had just like re-aggravated a bunch of old injuries, and then I like kind of transitioned into something more like what you're doing now, like a bodybuilding rehabby type of thing. My time at Deuce was great. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's fun.
Very valuable for my development, and like a really safe space for me, like transitioning out of the army, out of like a career in the military into like the unknown of the civilian world. I was like a little baby deer. Yeah. And it was nice.
So let's talk about that. You were just talking about how you were in the military, which is very rigorous and structured. Yeah. So, and that worked for you.
It did, yeah.
Right? And then you transitioned out, and from when I met you to where you are now, you've had probably 72 different lives.
Yeah. At least.
What has that really been to catch us up a little bit? Yeah. And then what are you doing now?
Yeah. So I spent, most of my adult life in the military, 18 to 28. And the beauty of the Army is that they like take decision making away from you. So like decision fatigue doesn't exist. I wake up in the morning, I show up at the right time, in the right place, in the right uniform, and I don't have to think about anything. My entire world is just like executing my job. And it's kind of nice because like if you're really good at your job, then like life is very easy.
Yeah.
And I was lucky that I was like pretty okay at my job, and I like really enjoyed it. I loved interacting with soldiers. Like all of the boxes were checked for me. There was one aspect where I like have now grown into this, where I like think of myself as a creative. I think everyone is to a certain respect, but like I think of myself as a creative, and like my medium happens to be fitness now. But like while I was in the military, as I progressed in roles of responsibility and authority, and my position got farther and farther away from soldiers or like the actual tactical nature of the job, I lost this ability to be creative. Became more of like a cog in a wheel. And I'm sure everyone experiences this to some extent, like in any role. Like if you're an executive in a business, you're no longer the guy like hammering the nails. You're the guy like coordinating the guys hammering the nails. And so I left, and I didn't realize at the time that like my childhood mirrored that, or like my relationship with my parents and my immediate surroundings. I didn't really have to think. Like my mom's like, oh, you got practice after school. After that practice, you got another practice, and then you got piano after that thing, and then you're going to go to bed. Then tomorrow we'll do the whole thing over. And so like I never made a decision my entire childhood. I never made a decision in my entire like young adult 20s life. And then I exit the military. I'm living on my own with a guy that I like don't even really know. I'm like, holy fuck, how do I do this?
Right.
Like, oh, I have to like take my laundry to the laundromat, and I have to like pay my bills, and like, what the fuck are taxes? Like,
yeah,
I had to like do all these things. I'm a 29-year-old guy, and I'm like, I don't even know how to like tie my shoes. Like, I mean, that's an exaggeration, but it was such a shock. And there was like other aspects. I'd like left a relationship that I thought was going to last forever. I'd moved across the country. I did a stupid thing, and I left the Army without a real plan. Didn't have a job. So I took like a job that was available to me. Hated it. You met me right after quitting this job. I was doing digital marketing, and I like didn't understand why I should care about somebody else's digital marketing.
Yeah.
And then over the course of the last 4 years, I've like really, it's through connecting with myself and like having to make some hard decisions, I've discovered like a way that I can be ultimately like useful and valuable. And like at the moment, that's through like coaching and connecting. And it just happens to be fitness. Maybe like next week it'll be different, but like today it's through connection. And I think ultimately just like seeing people where they are. I don't remember the original question that you had, but like that's my transition, and I'm now sitting in a place where I get to like connect with you in a different context too, which is exciting. Just two guys, you know, not the guy that coaches at your gym or the guy that's like always in the sauna. I'm like just a guy who does a thing, and you're a guy that does another thing, and we can like, I can be like, yo, your art's really sick, and you can be like, oh yeah, like I see what you're doing over there and wherever you are, which is really cool. And I'm like blessed to have friends like you and like Chase and like the support of Katie. It's been really sick.
So I think the transitioning to coaching, where it supports you, and from what I'm looking at from where you've been, is now you're able to control your own structure by telling people to make it easy what to do.
There's a really interesting phenomenon that's happening in my own life, and there's like two parts to this. Me referencing Katie just now is like, I've now like strategically placed external controls in my life. So like growing up and in the Army, it was like dictated to me. Like I didn't have to think, oh, my boss, I need to like find a boss who's going to then like tell me what to do. It was just like that system already existed. But like I've added in these players in my life where like coaching specifically, it's very easy for me to tell you how to best live your life or recommend to you how to best live your life based on my experience with myself, based on my experience with the people that I've worked with in the past, based on like the literature in the profession, you know? And so there's like a level of like, I've taken myself out of it, and deciding for someone else is rather simple. But then like also with the addition of these like external control factors, I've developed a system that's like working pretty well. Like I jokingly said, Katie takes care of my life when I walked in, but like she does. She's like, Ben, it's 9:30 and we have to leave. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I should probably go home and shower before we have to.
Yeah.
Like she texted me, yo, I'm on the way to pick you up at your house this morning. And I was like, I'm not home because I was like off doing another thing. A younger Ben would have looked at like my chaotic nature, or like we'll call it like ADHD, my like this abstract thing that's happening inside my head, would have looked at it as like a negative or like a detriment to my success. But I think it's like leaning into that, and like there's value there for like me being an outside the box thinker or whatever you want to call it in my coaching practice makes my skills valuable because it's not like everyone else. Your ability to like see something on the canvas that's different than another artist makes you incredibly valuable because it's like novel and it's unique and it's you. And like, this is like a cool therapy thing for me, but like understanding that like the things that make me are valuable. And so I think coaching is the, like I said, the current medium to like do that.
What's cool that I'm listening is by plugging in a Katie into your life, like I could totally use that because as a creative and all the verticals that I do, I'm all over the place and I get behind, ahead, and excited and all. And yes, I still operate. I'm very disciplined, and that's because of my athletic background and my fitness background.
I'm less disciplined. I'm not disciplined
because you never had to be, right? You are disciplined in the sense is, hey, Ben, put that on, time to eat, go do that.
I'll work harder than anybody. I will outwork you. I'm not questioning that in the slightest. I'll outwork you. That's the way that I do this. But without somebody being like, yo, go outwork him. It's hard for me.
But how you solved it is you realized that. You plugged her in. You're still in control, but you gave someone the power to control you and your weakness. So you essentially put in your own coach to manage you. And if you look at it that way, like I think that's pretty genius.
Coaches need coaches. It was accidental. It was accidental. But the cool part about like my new coaching practice, or like not new, the coaching practice that I have currently, is that like almost by default, I've like aligned with other high performers who need the same thing. So it's like I'm working with musicians and artists and people that like are of the same mindset as me, where like they're abstract thinkers and they're chaotic and they're all over the place. And I get to be the Katie for them, which somehow works because I like understand their plight as the like lunatic artist. And I understand how valuable an outside locus of control is in my life. And so I get to be that for somebody else. And so there's this crazy thing where like in my coaching practice, I'm all the things that I'm not for myself. And it somehow works. And it almost like works better than, I ever thought it would. I didn't imagine myself being a wellness professional. Like, no way.
Half the things we stumble into, we didn't realize we were going to be or set out to be like. We just become that. But what I hear is, it's like there's a saying about a carpenter, like they'll go build your cabinetry amazing, but you go look at their kitchen, they don't even have doors on their cabinets. Right. It's
like the chef that eats, peanut butter and jelly every night after they get home from work because they like don't want to cook because they've cooked all day.
So
wild. So
this transition, this huge thing in the meantime, I remember when you came back to visit to the gym, because you had left, you're working out of West Hollywood. And then you had just gone off of a TV show. And me knowing a little bit about you, I was just asking you a question, like, how was that experience, me knowing who you are, where you come from, to be put into such a mainstream, vulnerable limelight, and also surrendering to how they're going to make you look? How did that?
I was naive. I think we've actually talked about, I remember sharing this with you. I was so naive. I had no idea what to expect. Like, had I done any research on it, I'd have been like, oh my God, dude, you don't want to do this. You should not do this. I literally didn't understand, had no idea. They'd been reaching out for quite a while and I'd be like, no, like, I don't want to do that. No. And then it was like a perfect storm. It was COVID. I had just gotten back. I was doing like a tour with this music group that I coach, and I come back and my phone's ringing and I'm like, I'll just take the call. And they're like, yo, we're like recasting the show. You should come on. And I was like, no. And then I had some people in my life who were like, you should do it. Like, for sure, you should do it. You're in a rut. Like, just if anything, it's like a fun thing to like make COVID more bearable.
Yeah.
Or make like the quarantine period more bearable. And so I went and did it, and it was like a pressure cooker. The whole experience was just so intense, and I wasn't prepared for that. I think I was honestly going to just like learn maybe like have a good experience first, but then like learn a little bit about myself. Like I was like, oh, maybe this will just be like a cool thing that I can talk about later, like with my friends or my family or like whatever. And I ended up like sharing some like really intense stuff, like a bunch of like mental health centric stuff. And it was accidental. The whole thing, like it was purely accidental. And then I realized like how valuable it might be. And so by like putting that out there, I've like now like we talked about being useful, I placed myself in this position to like ultimately be useful. And this happens to be the area. I'm very thankful for everything I've done in my life. And I understand that like I am where I am today because of all the things I've done. And so like, I'm thankful to have done it, but like, had I known, dude, I would not have, I don't know that I would have felt the same way about participating. And, you know, I'm not at the gym anymore, and it's not because of that, but it's like, you know, because of the experience, I've now had opportunities, or I've seen places where I can like move my life, and like coaching in a physical gym, like isn't part of that anymore.
Yeah.
You know, this week, it was my last week at Rodeo, which is like the new.
Yeah. I saw your
gym.
post.
Yeah. So,
I told Chase was like, huh?
Yeah. So we met at a gym in Venice, and then I transitioned with my business partner and opened another space. Again, almost by accident. Like it was just like, you know, one thing led to another. And then I was in a position to like own a physical location. Never once having wanted to be the owner of a brick and mortar gym. That was never on my list of like things that I wanted to do or needed to do. Coaching for me, or like fitness for me, was just, again, connecting with people, connecting with my own body, and like sharing a safe space where I could see them and they could see me, and we could like, you know, grow together. It wasn't about like paying landlords and like writing checks to the insurance company and tracking hours and like paying coach. Like none of that was like in my list of things that I wanted to do. And I was there for about a year, and it was a really incredible experience. The project was so fun, and like we had an incredible why. It was to like bring strength training to a population that like might not be privy to it, or might not know that it's the thing that they really need to be doing. And the momentum is great over there in West Hollywood. We've got a batch of people that are like so excited about it. A couple great coaches. My former business partner is still running the gym. But for me, I needed to step away to create some space to hopefully let some other things in. I think there's this idea that like there's some big announcement on the horizon, like, oh, Ben's gonna like do X or Y or Z. There isn't. I do a lot of other things besides own a gym, or I did a lot of other things besides own a gym. And now I'm just going to like focus a little bit more on those things, and then hopefully expand in areas where like I wasn't able to before. You know, maybe it turns into doing things like this. This is where I feel my best. Like just having a little conversation. And I think recently, like understanding how profound sharing can be, I think there's like a really cool opportunity to share more, and it's like valuable to me, like selfishly, and it's valuable to like other people, I think. So yeah,
it's about filling up your cup, filling up someone else's cup, and vice versa. So
it's a really interesting, I have like a warped view on like what being fulfilled is. I think for a long time I was told that like my productivity will fulfill me, and I like don't subscribe to that anymore. I don't have to be like killing myself to serve others. And I think there's like this tipping of the scales, or this like new perspective that I've gained, at least in the last like 3 or 4 months, where it's like, I can feel taken care of, and I can feel whole, and I can feel like I'm being valued and supported. And then in turn, I can like 100x the way that I can support other people and lead them to feel whole and feel taken care of and feel all the things that I like am now feeling. And it's really good. I don't like go home very often, but I like saw my mom on FaceTime the other day, and she was like, you look good. Your face looks full. And I was like, yeah. I think I maybe looked tired for the last couple of years, but she's like, you just look you look really good. And I was like, oh, that's really nice to hear. It's like sometimes I don't feel it, but at least like from the outside, it looks really good. So, I don't know.
I think it's the journey. So you're going on and you're kind of creating this self-transformational figuring out of things, right?
Oh, I have nothing figured out. That's like,
it's not necessarily having the answer.
Right.
And I don't know if you've gone and done work and transformational work or reading on it, but what I'm hearing is just, I'm finally realizing I don't have to kill myself producing, because guess what? We're going to get old and we're not going to be able to produce.
Yeah.
So if we're only measuring ourselves by what we produce, at one point we're going to just be pissed off at ourselves.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, sleep's for when I'm dead. No, we need to sleep now. So all I'm hearing is like, you're starting to love yourself and you're realizing there is worth in me, because a lot of this in my message is about self-love. And if we don't choose ourselves, I wholeheartedly believe that I cannot love another person until I love myself. Yes, we can give love. Like, oh, I love that pretzel or that red color, or I love football, or I love my wife. But can you really love your wife if you don't love yourself? Can you really love your child? So what I'm hearing is like, you're really starting to learn to love yourself. Yeah. And that's great. And yes, you can give way more back because now you've given it to yourself. It's almost like I was able to do this really cool project at a prison once. Yeah. The group of men I worked with were all murderers. So like they took a life. Like this was the worst that you can kind of do for a human being. And a lot of them were also wrong time, wrong place, didn't know they had another choice. This is what their upbringing is. But they've started to do this work inside and start loving themselves. And we painted a mural that says forgive and cast a shadow of forgiven. And this whole exercise and convos with them, we realized what I learned was sometimes we ask someone to forgive us, but we haven't forgiven ourselves. Yeah. So if I ask someone to love me, but I don't love myself, again, it lands on deaf ears. We're not going to feel it. Yeah. So that's what I'm hearing you.
Yeah. And that feels true to me. I think there's this interesting thing where I thought I knew what love was. Like I've told people that I love them, or like you asked me 5 years ago, Ben, do you love yourself? I'd be like, oh yeah, of course I do. I didn't even know what that, I don't even know. I still don't even know what that is, but like every day I'm getting closer and closer to understanding what it might mean to one, like forgive myself and others, and then also love myself and truly love others. I think there's this idea of like belonging. Like my entire life has just been one massive effort in trying to belong. Like I'm trying to belong. And then everything that's happened in response to that is just a coping mechanism to try and like take care of the fact that I feel as if I don't belong. Yeah. You know, it could be in my own family, it could be in the military, it could be on any team, or like with any peer group anywhere. But the idea that like I have to belong inside here first, or like have this feeling of belonging is something that I'm kind of fixated on currently. And I think you could like, you know, belonging and love could be interchangeable there. But like truly loving myself and accepting myself and understanding that like my situation is not unique is like another aspect of this, but like the feelings that I feel are probably some of the feelings that you felt in your life and Katie's felt and Chase has felt. And like anyone in this, you know, city has felt the same things that I felt at a certain point or another, or like some variation of those things. And it's understanding that there's like community around feeling that way too. And so like I can now have more empathy and more understanding for other people. And so it's like this like swirling, self-fulfilling thing where like, if I love myself, I love you, I love them, they love you and you love me. And it's this like massive, just, we all grow together.
Yeah. And then there's acceptance and all these other things. And once we start realizing that and doing all that work, I mean, everything you're saying is, you know, we operate out of love or we operate out of fear. Yeah. Am I looking at this as fears? Am I unworthy? Am I not belonging? Like I used to lose myself in fitness as a way of like, I hate my life, but I love training. Let me just go train for 8 hours a day. Yeah. Right. Let me go try to be a CrossFit champion. Let me go try whatever it is, because we're avoiding things and we're using things we love to avoid things because of that lack of love.
I've been afraid my whole life. And like, just now, I'm still am. I think we all are, but like just now I'm understanding that like me being afraid, again, this idea of utility, me being afraid doesn't benefit anyone. And it surely doesn't benefit me. And so you talked about like haters at the beginning. I get a lot of hate. I get a lot of hate. I get a lot of love, or what I perceive as love, often too. But I think me being like less evolved, or like a lesser evolved version of myself, I seek out the hate to reinforce this fear and reinforce the fact that like, oh, maybe I'm not worthy, or maybe I don't belong, or maybe I'm not the right person to do this job. So it's a constant daily battle to be like, no, like, just like stay the course, and keep doing the things that you know you need to do. I think it's like very interesting that like there's this like saying like all the things that you want are on the other side of fear. Like even if you're afraid, do it anyway. And so I'm like really challenging myself to like just do the other things. Like I've always wanted tattoos. Since I was a little kid, I've always just wanted to be covered head to toe in tattoos. And everybody in my life's been like, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. Like, you'll never be George Clooney if you're covered in tattoos. Like, why would you do that? Or like, any number of my family members being like, oh no, you can't. Like, our family doesn't have tattoos. And I got a tattoo with my best friends a couple months ago. And I was like, this is the greatest moment of my entire life. And then I got like 45 in like the next 120 days, which seems crazy. But like, if you know me at all, it's not crazy. But like finally realizing that like I was afraid to do that because of what other people thought. And like I did it. And I'm like, holy shit, my life is so much better on this other side of like being afraid, or on the other side of their expectation or critique or like concern. I'm able to just like, so there's like this really cool inflection point in my life where I like started drawing on my skin, and I like give less shits about anything else. It's been really cool. It's been really sick for me, at least.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because fear is healthy. We're not talking about.
No, I know. Yeah.
We're not talking about self-preservation type fear, right? I mean, I have a kid now. You want to talk about being afraid? That's the most innocent thing I have in my. I mean, it's not. I'm afraid walking around. It's healthy fear of like, I have to be here for him to get to a point that he can survive on his own.
It's a very healthy driver.
Yeah.
Without it, like without anxiety or without fear, then I would argue that you're like probably not doing enough, or you're not trying enough, or you don't care enough. It's funny that I'm saying this immediately after saying I give less shits, but like, I think fear is great. And I think acting in the face of fear is a really cool opportunity to build self-confidence and to like deepen your commitment to yourself and your goals and your morals and your stance, like on any one thing. Using
fear to choose love,
for
right?
Sure.
Using fear to self-preserve, not using it as to go commiserate, go be a victim and go here. No. But the other thing you were talking about is judgment, right?
Yeah.
The world is going to judge us. This is one of my conversations, right? There's three things: the fear of failure, the fear of success, and the fear of what people think of us. These are the three pillars that I always kind of like, well, I'm not afraid of failing. I've failed my face off 101 times.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of succeeding. I want to succeed.
Yeah.
But that judgment.
Yeah.
What do people think of me? Am I coming off the way I'm putting it out there? And then like, I always try to tell myself this is like, why am I judging myself, Ruben, when the world is already judging me? Don't add more judgment to the conversation.
Yeah.
That's where it gets tricky.
It is tricky. And I think, like looking at those three things, fear, success, and also others' opinions, it's like all of those are just fear of change. It's just fear of experiencing something different than like what I'm currently feeling. And like, for me personally, a lot of it is about like what others might think. Or like if you succeed, then you have to become the person that does the thing that you want to do, which is like also incredibly scary. But we're all just so tied to like our homeostasis, and we want to just sit in this little bubble and not have to like be stressed, or not have to like try hard, or not have to like do any like really challenging work. Detaching yourself from those outside opinions, I think, is far easier than the internal. And you bring up like a really nice point, because like I judge the shit out of myself. I am so mean. I am so mean to myself. And I often wonder if like I'm so judgmental of myself or concerned about people's judgments of me because I judge others so harshly. And so like one of the things you talk about, like the conversations, one of the things that I'm working really hard with, or like being very intentional with currently, is like removing judgment, or removing my like, I'm just like so quick to like internalize like anything that another person does as negative, or like somehow a slight towards me. And that's like my ego and all that stuff.
Taking
like,
it personal. I can relate with that.
I take everything personally. And then I look at like the way that I interact with the world, and I'm like, Ben, nothing that I do, like anything that I do is not personal to you or to anyone else. I'm like, I'm bogged down by my own shit. I'm not worried about any other person, you know, in that regard. And then I internalize every other person's actions as some sort of slight to me. And I'm like, you got to like break this cycle, or like think about this differently. I don't know. I guess it's like a journey that we're on for, like, it's never ending. So it's just like a journey we're on for the rest of our lives. I don't know if you feel like that you've got some sort of handle on it, but like
you know, I've done some work. I've gone to like MITT.
Yeah.
That might be something you could look into. Like it
cool.
is a deep dive, like 5 days of intense inside inner work. I mean, that's what led me down this whole path.
Yeah.
So does it get easier? Yes. And it's the way I'm going to relate it to is fitness. And I know you can relate to that. It's like let's say you're sedentary, you're a desk jockey, you take this guy or gal that's never squatted and they can only squat less than 3/4, right? A quarter squat. And you're like, no, you got to go ask the grass, like get down there. No, it's not going to blow out your knees and all these things.
Right.
But eventually they get to that point. It's the same thing with these conversations. I look at it as like, this is my mental fitness. It's another rep, another practice. And there's still days that, you know, before I went down my path of finally choosing me, I was depressed. And, you know, I always took that as, why am I depressed? Like I'm healthy. I live in LA. I'm single. I'm successshall. I have no
There's
baggage.
So much shame
like
around like being
right. And it's like, I'm not that guy in the corner screaming and yelling at the air. Like, it's like, why is there a stigma that it's so far back and forth? I'm like, all mental health is all mental health. And we all have some level of it that we need to talk about. Yeah. But every day I choose love. Every day. Do I want to choose it every day? No. But every day I choose it. I'm like, look, I put myself out there to represent this, to be this, and I've got to be it as much as possible. It's like, if you're a trainer, I've done training. I actually went to school to be an exercise science. I was an exercise science major. I was going to be an orthopedic surgeon. Yeah. So you can't be a fat trainer. No. I don't care how knowledgeable you are. There's still a perception of there's a little judgment there, but it's like, I want to have someone teach me, coach me, and everything that looks like what I want to be or become. So when we talk about coaches at every capacity, is like, how is their life? Are they doing the work, or are they just trying to sell me something? So like an overweight, unhealthy trainer to me is like, how am I going to tell you to make me do 100 push-ups right now and eat whatever macros if you're not doing it?
I've learned a younger Ben felt that way. But I've learned over the course of like my time, you know, as a gym owner and as a coach, my whole life is this thing. I've changed my opinion on that. I understand that like coaching and even fitness or any like medium, like there's a primary objective, but there's also like secondary and tertiary objectives. And I've met coaches who don't look like your typical coach and don't perform in the gym like your typical coach, but they're able to do something for maybe that like secondary or third objective where it's like, this person connects with me on a way that I've never experienced before. Or like this person's able to like craft a story or a narrative around why we're doing what we're doing in a way that I've like never experienced before. And so I'm thinking of like one individual specifically. This guy doesn't look like your typical coach, yet he gets some of the best results and like most importantly probably compliance from his people like in a way that I haven't been able to achieve. And if you like look at us objectively, you're like, oh, Ben is the better coach. I would argue I'm not. And like that's like a pretty big like moment in my life where I'm like, holy shit, maybe like I've got it all wrong. Maybe like me chasing like abs to like better my coaching practice is probably not the thing. Maybe I should learn how to like relate to people better. but I do understand your perspective on that. And I think, like kind of like doing a weird transition into this mental health thing. We don't look like the guys that are depressed, at least from what I know, or like what my perception of this was, or like people that struggle with mental health. You mentioned the guy screaming on the corner. Like, I feel as if, you know, I should have more figured out than that guy. There's been many times in my life where I'm like, oh, that guy gets it.
Yeah.
Like that guy
simplified
that
life,
guy gets it. His life looks way better than mine. But like objectively, that's not true. But like I've wanted to be that guy, to like get away from the things that I'm like dealing with inside my head or inside my heart or inside, you know, my soul or whatever. But I just find it interesting. And like, I love the fact that like your thing is about choosing love, because we've talked too about how like I'm removing stressors from my life to follow a path of ease, or like things that like feel right to me. That doesn't mean that it's easy. I think like easy and ease have been like misconstrued pretty often. I'm making hard decisions every single day, and you use word choice, but like I'm choosing the hard thing because like this thing of utility, it's the way that I make the most impact, or the way that I cause or affect the most change. And I'm really excited about having more opportunity to choose love for myself first, which has never been a thing in my life, but for myself first, and then in turn for other people. I've struggled having friendships, and I've struggled having romantic relationships, and I've struggled having long-term connection. I do a thing where I like, when things get too, like you're married and you have a child. So like when things get too permanent, I'm like, oh, fuck that. I cannot participate. And I burn everything to the ground. And I like have done this so many times. And like us coming together and communicating and like being friends now after like not seeing each other for a while, it makes me excited about the opportunity to like do this more, not just with you, but with other people that I like thought it was too late to like reconcile. Not that we have anything to reconcile, but like, did I think there was going to be an opportunity for us to be friends? I don't know, but like, I think it's really cool that like you've chosen to have me here, and I've chosen to participate, and we like have chosen like love instead of the alternative, whatever it is. I also understand that like when I talk, I go all over the place. So like, I'm really impressed that you're following along. You've done a really nice job of like eye contacting me and like watching this, because I'm all over the fucking place.
No, you know what's fun? It's like what I've learned in this, and the purpose of the podcast now and having these conversations is, every day I'm showing people how I choose love and how I live through love with my art and my practice and the podcast and clothing and you name it. But that's always coming from my voice. So I'm inviting people to open up and talk about how they're choosing love and what was that journey. So if it's all over the place, it's great. My job is to hold the space for you to open up and be vulnerable. And I love that it's all over the place and letting you just talk.
I don't know if this ever happens. I know you've had a lot of people on this podcast. I don't know if anyone says this. I don't do many of these, but like, the way that you have like sat there and like actually listened to me is a thing that I like don't feel often. Chase does a really nice job of it, but I like don't ever feel like I don't feel this very often. When I speak, I have a tendency to like think that no one is listening. And so I go all over the place, or I say wild shit so that like maybe it like sparks somebody's interest. Like I really appreciate that you're actually listening to me, which is a really cool thing.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm like also, I hope it like, I'm trying hard to listen also.
So my comment about the fit trainer versus the
also, I wasn't trying to like
pack,
blow your shit up, but
no, it's totally fine. Cause you opened up an alternative, viewpoint. And I didn't really mean the six pack. The six pack guy versus I'm talking about you look unhealthy. You talk unhealthy. Your energy's unhealthy. I am not going to choose you because there's some amazing coaches in the world that don't look like they're anything. Right. Louis Simmons from West Side, who's recently passed. Like you look at him and you're like, huh?
And then he deadlifts 800.
Right. Or Greg Glassman, who started CrossFit. Like you look at them and you're like, huh? But they're amazing coaches. But then you also have to look at the person on the outside ropes you in. And then from there, you're like, oh, I am open to learn now.
Yeah.
Okay. So the fitter coach led me to the more educated coach.
I think it's like authentic. What you're describing is authenticity. And so like every part of your life is this, like all of the components that make you lead you to produce things like this. And like, I don't know if I like have just like an authenticity dar or I can like see it. But like, I think for most people, it's very easy to see somebody and be like, oh, the shit that you're saying or that you're posting on wherever you're posting it isn't really you.
Mm-hmm.
And like, maybe you're searching for like validation or like dollars or like whatever it is that you're after. But like, I feel pretty comfortable in my ability to like sniff somebody out. I think, it's been a struggle for me to be authentic. Not because like I'm inauthentic, but because like by being authentic, I have to like open myself up for that critique or that criticism or that like feedback that might be not what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I've got this new idea, or this not an idea, but like this thing that I've been talking about with friends and you know, people that I interact with frequently, where it's like the vulnerability that we see on the internet or on social media is like curated. And so like
the most part, yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I'm vulnerable on there. I hate it. I hate being vulnerable on there because like my knee-jerk reaction is to look at it from the perspective of someone who's going to hate. And I'm like, everybody who reads this is just like, yo, shut the fuck up, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do we care that you've posted this thing? Or why do we care that you're like looking for sympathy? I'm not. But I understand why people might feel that way. And I sit there and I look at myself and I'm like, okay, you shared this vulnerable thing, but you're not showing the other vulnerable things. You know, so you're like, you yourself are curating some sort of like, it's not inauthentic, it's authentic. But like, I now am struggling with this idea of like, okay, I'm curating something that's vulnerable to help a certain population, which like, that's great. But like, maybe I should be even more open and maybe I should be even more accepting to the fact, or I should surrender more. I'm sure there's great content there, but like, I don't know if that's what I'm after. You know, it's like this.
I think
this
you're
weird
figuring
dance.
it out.
It's a weird dance.
You're rolling into it.
Yeah.
And, you know, especially how social media is now. So you were we didn't even talk about, you were on The Bachelor.
Yeah.
Right? That puts you in front of all of middle America.
It's
when
weird.
you're in front of middle America, this is a whole nother world.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean,
I'm a product of middle America.
Yeah. And I'm born and raised in LA. So like when I my early stages, I traveled on New York, Miami. Then I started doing some projects in middle America. I'm like, holy shit, this is America. Like even I didn't know. But you put yourself out there and you could have gone a couple of ways because I see different people on these shows and different things that happen.
Yeah.
You could have just become a model and gotten paid all day long and posted yourself shirtless all day long. It could have been an easy way for you to just go, let me go get rich real quick. Or, but you still stayed to being you. And yes, there's going to be haters and yes, there's going to be out there.
Yeah.
But the way I can relate it, not going to that is like, I would paint a mural that says I am love.
Yeah.
And I would paint a mural that says be humble. And I would paint a mural that says you're beautiful. Cause I was talking to myself.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for a person. And the people that commented are like, hey, Ruben, I needed that because I don't feel beautiful, because I don't feel love, because I think humility is bullshit or whatever the case is. I didn't post it for that opposite side. So if you're still doing it for that reason, you're fine. Just like, dude,
it's just like a weird dance. It's like a weird thing where like, whenever you think that you've like made ground or like made progress, there's like another thing that creeps in and like tries to knock you down. And it's all in my own head, you know? No.
And I see like, there's that saying, when you get your haters, you've made it. I'm like, made it according to what? I don't know. But like, okay, there's that. Like, I have so many fakes of my art now. Like,
oh, really?
Fake clothing, fake everything, copycats. But at the end of the day, it's like, I can sit here and fight it. I can sit here and do whatever. I can be like, you know what? These people have been inspired.
It's the greatest form of flattery.
Yeah. You know, and some of it, when it does affect me feeding my family and all that. Yeah. I've started protecting my IP, copyrights, trademarks and all that. Like it's a brand now.
Sure.
But looking at everything, it's like understanding the empathy now. It's like, you need it more than ever. And if you're leaving that comment, you're not talking to me. And it's hard, trust me, because I take things personal. So I resonate with that. I don't know if you've read the 4 agreements. Check it out. One of the agreements is don't take things personal.
I know the book. Yeah.
But it's like they're talking to them. And sometimes I'm like, I wish I could give this person a hug right now.
Yeah.
You know, during the pandemic, I made love masks, and then I have every kind of politics, religion, sexual orientation. They are all fans because it's about love. But sometimes people are like, you liberal piece of shit, you over Republican this, or you only for gay rights. I'm like, yo, I'm about love and for the people. During BLM, people were like, get your trash out of my email. I'm like, my wife is black. Like I'm brown. Like I'm not coming at this like from why don't you look at where it's coming from? And it's coming from an authentic place. So like if you're being you and you're being real, fuck it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the new, in a very simple, take. That is the next like evolution of me. It's like, well, fuck it. Doesn't like all that matters is I am myself, and I'm able to like, I'm going to keep hitting this. It's just like, am I useful? And like, I think by being myself, I am the most useful for the most amount of people. Like, I understand that a lot of people aren't going to like that. And it's like part of the gig, I guess.
But it's not for everybody.
No, and that's the best part.
I really love people like, oh, you're going to change the world with love? Yeah, sure. Oh, you call that art?
You might change one person's world. And that's
that like, one person affects one person affects one person.
Taking the words right out of my mouth.
The way I look at like, all this is a world peace mission. Yeah. If I run around saying I am going to solve world peace, I'm going to look like an egomaniac and like, no. But if I change one person's view, that changes one, I paint a mural, 40,000 people look at it. Yeah. I have a 10-story mural in Oakland, right in front of the freeway. Millions of people see this.
Yeah.
If one of them, takes note of what I have on that wall, it causes a ripple effect. That will lead to world peace. So can I say I'm on a world peace mission? Yeah, but is that the mission? No, my mission is to inspire people to view the world through the lens of love. So
paint the next mural.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. All I'm thinking of is like, how do I do something similar?
You're doing it.
We're trying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you said something at the beginning. I'm not trying, I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the next evolution. Take trying out of my vocabulary.
In the sense of how it's being used. I think it's like saying busy. Oh, I'm just busy. I'm like, dude,
so
that busy word.
Do you want to know something? So I, like I said about having a Katie in my life, or like having this structure, I've enlisted the help of like some people. I have a therapist that I've met with. She's been my therapist for 5 years. So like we've got this like thing. Mm-hmm. But then I've enlisted the help of like a business coach, and he's like a strategy guy, and he basically helps me refine my decision-making process and like look at what might be the most valuable or least valuable courses of action. And then I'm able to like be really effective with like the energy that I have. And we noticed very early on in our conversations, we've been together, I think like 6 or 7 months now, but very early on, I get on a call and I'm like flustered, and I like have just been running from this other thing. And I sit, and he's like the chillest dude ever. And I get on the call and he's in another state. So we're Zooming each other. And the first 10 minutes of every call for the first 4 months were me just being like, oh, I'm so fucking busy. I just let me catch my breath. I got to take a sip of water. Like also here, let me get my notes together. Like I've just got papers and shit. My hair is all over the place. I like don't have a shirt on. Like everything, like the house is on fire behind me. And he was like, yo, dude, like literally let me do this for the first 15 calls we had. And he was like, will you just like shut up about being busy? Because everybody's busy. But do you notice how like I'm here in the same way that you're here, like just receiving? He's like, I'm here to like support you in this and like help you navigate whatever's coming next. And he's like, we've wasted now, what is that, like 150 minutes of your time talking about how busy you are. Like, check yourself. And I was like, okay, sick. So like for the last 2 months, and I know that I fail at this every day, but I've tried to remove busy, or the perception of busy, like from my life. And it's like one of those fake it till you make it things, where like, because I'm not saying that I'm busy, or I'm not telling people that I'm busy, or I'm not like acting as if I'm busy, I'm less busy. Like objectively I'm not, but like subjectively I am less busy. And it's been really cool and really interesting to me. So like, yeah, hopefully
I think we throw out busy as avoidance too.
Sure.
What are we avoiding to be busy?
Sure. Yeah. It's like work is only, you know, effective work is so much better. Like I don't want to just do work, you know, to no end. Like you get that with art. It's like, it's the work that you're able to like focus on and being intentional with.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a quality, or it's not a quantity thing. It's a quality thing.
Intention.
Yeah.
Productive.
Yeah.
But yeah, the trying versus doing, we're all trying. Yeah, I'll try to make it.
Yeah.
What does I'll try to make it mean?
What's the alternative?
Well, true, but
I won't make it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll try to make it. It's like, I ain't coming, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but when you're trying, you're actually in it. You're already doing it. So
Yeah.
I'll be there or I won't be there. I'll try to make it. You're actually going to not make it. And that's your blow off. So you're not really trying anything.
Yeah. It's
So
like people are just afraid of committing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you've said choice a couple times, choosing love. I've said choice and decision and these words, but it's like just choosing commitment to anything. And that's like, you know, I keep saying this is the thing I'm working on and this is the thing. There's like 80 things that I'm currently focused on, which like is probably a problem in and of itself. But I think like at the base level, it's like I'm making choices and I'm committing to things for myself and for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And like, even as simple as like, I'll try to make it. It's like, well, just fucking commit. It's like fucking just choose one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that's a different like context for trying, but like, just fuck it, just choose.
Yeah, that's it. Life's a choice. We're the sum of our choices.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters.
Yeah.
So this has been cool. It has been all over the place.
I'm a mess.
Which is great, but like
mess. She's like, we're gonna have to cut the whole thing.
It's fine. No,
there's a thing too where it's like I was on this show, right? And like everyone thinks that they know who I am. They think that they like have some understanding of like what Ben is from like 14 minutes of like really highly edited production. And then like the little bit of like curated stuff that I put on social media. They think that they understand what I am. Like I'm some emotionally unavailable, non-communicative veteran. Like only parts of that are true. Like I'm very different than what people think that I am. And it's like funny experiences like this where like this is me and it's all over the place and it's messy and it's hopefully passionate and hopefully thought-provoking, but like I'm a lot more things than what you think. Even you and we like know each other. And so like I'm glad to come on and like just be a mess.
I've read the contracts for these shows. Like I've been approached to be on shows.
I gave away my
before.
life for a little bit.
It literally said, I'm gonna paraphrase it, but it literally says, you agree to allow us to make you look however we want you to look, good, bad, ugly, indifferent. It doesn't matter. And you cannot do anything about it.
I just banked on the fact that I was a good person and that like I had, I heard this from somebody where they said reality TV just is like alcohol. It amplifies what you already are. So I was just hoping that by going on and acting authentically, it would just hopefully amplify the things that I already am. And like, I think to a certain extent that happened. Granted, there's a lot that's missing, right? But like, yeah, that's an insane thing to hear. Like, cause I've forgotten that that's like a part of it, but like,
and some people get off like they don't make them look bad. Like I hosted a TV show. We shot the pilot and I was making sure I read the contract. Cause I'm like, but luckily it was on a network that wanted to show positive stuff and everything. It wasn't about drama and any of that. Some of these other shows, they just want to show drama because that's what people do. They'll eat the popcorn and pick the drama and they sell the ads.
Yeah. Like I said, had I known, had I really known.
Yeah, but we can't go back and change anything. And it's made you who you are right now.
Yeah. Things might be different, but like they're not. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say they're not different.
Yeah.
So I just like one foot in front of the other. Tomorrow's a new day and I just like navigate what comes next. Yeah.
So one last question for you.
It.
How do you define living a life through love?
How do I define living a life through love? I think living a life through love is understanding that everybody is sharing in this experience together.
Mm.
And I don't want to use the word empathy, but by having an understanding that you and I and everyone else are navigating this thing together, even though we're separate, we're together in this.
Mm-hmm.
I can make choices that improve my connection to myself and my connection to other people and strengthen our ability to navigate this thing together. And so my choices now, although they might be self-serving in the short term, are purely just to improve the lives of somebody else. And so like having an understanding that we're all in this together is like shaping the way that I make decisions moving forward. So living a life through love is just understanding that we're all in this together.
Cool.
And that's it.
We're all living life together on this ball spinning around in a circle in space.
It's nuts, isn't it?
With fireballs all around us out there.
It's nuts. Like the fact that we're all sitting in this room right now is crazy to me. Like I'm going to go coach my best friends this afternoon. Then after that, I'm going to go on a walk with this other person who like has changed my life to like the nth degree. Like it's crazy that like this is happening every day.
Yeah.
People are going to hear that and be like, what a weird guy. And I'm going to be like, yeah,
maybe
generally pretty weird.
But we're all weird. And if we weren't weird, well, what
I know, right?
That's the whole point. That's what makes us different and interesting.
Yeah.
But it's also defining how weird is. We're not talking about weird. We're just like, we're different.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Unique. We're unique.
And guess what? You know how many people are just like you?
So many.
And how many are just like me? We just don't realize it.
Yeah.
And that's why.
Well, and that's like the impetus for me sharing. Because like if I can be like somebody to look up to for somebody that's like me or feels the way that I feel, then like I've done something good.
You are hitting the road. He just told me, like, I'm a huge Rufus fan. You're training them?
Yeah.
For that's like the super last cool.
3 years.
Yeah, I didn't know. Like, I fucking play that Joshua Tree album all the time.
Yeah. So when I say like I'm gonna go train with my closest friends, that's them. It's been an incredible experience. It's a very funny story. A mutual friend. So I was like coaching in West Hollywood, and the guy that I was coaching also happens to be a trainer and a coach, and knew that the guys were looking for not only a coach, but someone that did like holistic wellness stuff. So we do like, nutrition and mindset, and we do a lot of like breath work and heat and cold exposure. We do like, it's like holistic nutrition practice together. And they needed somebody who fit the bill. And I am also sober from alcohol, so I don't partake in alcohol. And like they needed somebody that was also not doing alcohol. And so it was like all the blocks were checked, and then had a meeting. And it was like I'd known the guys, I'd been a fan of their music for a long time, and it had gotten me through a lot of like really important moments of my life. And it's been such an incredible process because I've developed a relationship with, there's, 3 people, and I've developed an individual relationship with each one of them. And then also this relationship with the group as a whole. And it's been so incredible for me in my growth process as a coach, and like thinking I knew what would be valuable. You refine your processes over and over and over again. Well, like this is the longest I've ever worked with one individual group. And I have grown so much as a coach.
It's mutually beneficial.
It's been so incredible. Yeah. I feel so supported and so loved. And I know that they feel that from me also. And so it's been really incredible. And I also get to like tour with my favorite band. So like when they're on the road, I'm also on the road. I don't think many people know that because I don't talk about it. Maybe I'll share more of that. We're about to leave on tour, North American tour. It's going to be really sick.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I won't ask you for tickets. Don't worry.
I know a guy, so we can sort it out.
Well, Ben,
fuck, dude, it'll be sick.
I also won't ask you to bring them on the show.
Okay. I mean, I'll ask. We could sort that out probably.
Ben, thank you so much for opening up, for being vulnerable.
Yeah.
I had no intention of where this combo was going to go. I think it's like
I blacked out.
2 guys over a fireplace.
Yeah. I don't even know what I said. So.
Well, you'll hear it later. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah. So my Instagram is at Ben V Smith, BenVeeSmith. that's really where I put all of my content. I have a TikTok under the same username, and then my website, benvsmith.com. If you're interested in finding out more about like what's happening next, I've got some cool projects in the works, but that's a place to go, and there's information there. You can join my mailing list and just follow along.
Cool.
Yeah. Thanks, dude.
Thanks for having us.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Live Through Love. If you love this episode, you'll love this episode.